Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Ask a Brother podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James. And listen, man, this has been an incredible journey. I'm super hype about tonight's guest. But before we get underway, let me make a couple quick announcements and also let y'all know about a great guest that I'm going to be having coming up next week. So, for starters, shout out to our 52,977 subscribers. Yeah. I just saw it about 10 minutes ago that we're literally about to clear 53,000 subscribers. So the way that we're climbing, and this is all word of mouth, man. The fact that y'all keep sharing it, y'all keep hyping up these videos, it's been incredible at the speed of how fast and how quickly we are building this platform and channel. Thank you to everybody that watched the episodes and stuff that we released this week, as far as interviews and our men's table last night with Dr. Tommy Curry. Shout out to him for sure for coming through, and a great conversation about just the concept of the manosphere, his critique of feminism, and even the panderers in this space. It was a very good back and forth for sure. Shout out to our members, the members who really hold down the channel. Each of you, I thank you. It's the fact that you're willing to sign up and be a member, and it's the fact that you guys, are already supporting the channel just by being a member. For those that are not a member, make sure you check in the chat. There's going to be opportunities. I think there's going to be some links that let me see who's in the chat real quick. Mrs. Plum. Thank you, Mrs. Plum. I see she's already posting stuff for sure. And I see that she's already posting things regarding our groups. Movie Book Club group is on Mondays, every Monday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we also have our men's group on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. But before I get to anything else, I want to remind y'all, absolutely. One thing that we always ask when you guys come through, make sure that you like and share. It helps with the algorithm. So, and then also just in general, welcome to everybody that's new, that may not be familiar with my channel or my brand. Welcome. This is the place where we just do a variety of different things, whether it's content, original content, reactions, interviews. We try to do it all on this channel, and I'm super proud and happy for what this channel has kind of been turning into. I'm super hyped, man. And then, like I said, I'm going to be doing some stuff next week. Just to kind of let y'all know, I think I'm going to be doing this for sure next week as a starter. In regards to what's been happening in the dating market, and maybe maybe the ladies out here aren't fully aware of the fact of maybe what the competition is in regards to the global market. I may do this as well, depending on if y'all are open to it, and we'll see how we feel about that. But then, there was some recent stuff that's been trending that I might be willing to cover. And obviously, Professor Pick Me, you all absolutely loved her. So there's a strong possibility she may be making an appearance. So if you're in the chat, feel free to kind of let me know if these are some of the things that you guys are open to seeing for sure. But with that said, man, listen, as far as next week's concerned, all I'm going to say is on Tuesday, an interview that I recorded yesterday with Rachel Dolezal is going to be coming out on Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hit those notification bells. You're not going to want to miss it. Yes, I'm asking her a whole bunch of questions, from the racial questions to OnlyFans, you name it. But it was really more of an interview to just get to know her as a person and kind of what's brought her to the point of where she's at now. So if you are in the chat, if you are currently watching, please be a subscriber. Make sure that you become a member if you're not, and then always like it, and then send it to 2, 3, 4, even 5 people, and let's get this up in the algorithm. But listen, y'all, whenever I'm doing an interview, I know that y'all not tuning in for me. So without further ado, let me introduce tonight's next guest, because I am hype. I am hype. Let me get my voice ready. Make sure I do this right. All right, y'all. So he is one of the most known lawyers on social media and has been in the trenches of family law for well over 20 years, navigating the complexities of divorce, mediation, and high stakes litigation. He has well over 600,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I just checked again today. This brother is almost about to eclipse 100 million views on YouTube alone. So I'm absolutely honored that he was able to come through. The fact that he even popped up on one of our episodes for our men's table with just a comment, I'm like, yo, this dude actually knows I exist. So this is an honor. So please, please, please help me welcome to the stage and to Ask a Brother podcast for the very first time, the lead attorney. What's going on, sir?
All right, how we doing? Shout
Yeah.
out to Ask a Brother podcast. I love that. That's what's up, man. Thank you so much for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Man, hey, thank you for saying yes. And I was talking to my team and everybody backstage beforehand. I was like, it's the fact that he even knew that I existed when I sent the email. I said, this is crazy. He actually was like, oh, I've seen your stuff before. I was like, what? I was like,
Listen, you're blowing up, man. You are really making a name for yourself. It took me 13 months even to get
mm,
1,000 subscribers. So a little bit over a year just to get 1,000 to get monetized. And
mhm.
here you are just, picking up subscribers by the tens of thousands, and everybody knows who you are.
This
You've
is
got
crazy.
really great takes on a lot of things. So
Mm,
I just really appreciate you inviting me to kind of share your platform this evening and to talk about some things. But yeah, you are
mm,
really killing the game. I think YouTube is very rewarding, but at the same time, it's very difficult to do. A lot of people don't understand how much time goes in it to have your stuff really good.
yeah,
And
yeah. Wow.
people really don't see or appreciate the behind the scenes work that you're doing. But we as YouTubers can look at other YouTubers and say, man, you're really putting it in and getting a lot of great results. So
Wow.
big shout
Wow.
out to you, Ask a Brother Podcast. I mean, your channel is just amazing.
Man, admin team, y'all better clip that up. Y'all better clip that up for future. Listen, I thank you. I really appreciate that. And for everybody that's in the chat, make sure you comment first or just let me know that you're here and in the building. I always like to know who's watching. I don't like these silent watchers. And make sure you hit that super chat button if you have any particular questions or comments that you like me to focus on throughout the interview. If it's not a super chat, there's a good chance I'm probably not going to see it. So just giving y'all advance warning. Why don't you kind of start with just your initial background with getting into law and then you transitioning into content creation?
Yeah, getting into law, that was a a winding road. All lawyers, we kind of have an inside joke amongst us, amongst ourselves, that we can't do math, right? Very,
Mm,
very few lawyers could do math, and I learned at a very early age that math was not my forte. So I went to college as a business major, and then I
mm,
had to take calculus. But since I didn't take it in high school, I had to take pre-cal, and I worked really hard that first semester in pre-calculus, and I got a D. And I was like, well, listen, at least I passed it. So let's go
uh-huh,
with the calculus. And then they said, no, well, since it's a core requirement, you got to have a C or above. And I
mm,
was like, just change my major. That's how bad it was. I really worked hard. That might
mhm,
have been one of the classes I studied for the most in my whole college career, that
mhm,
pre-cal class. And I did poorly, but I thought that I had succeeded. And then they were trying to make me take it again. So I said, well, what is the subject, or the, what do you call it? The career, what do you call it when you graduate? What's the degree? That's the
degree,
word
yeah,
I'm looking for,
mhm,
that doesn't require, really any math. And they said, oh, well, English. I said, well, just change me to English.
mhm,
And so I was an English major. I absolutely loved it. Didn't study, I had to write a poem here or there, a little thesis here or there. It was amazing.
mhm,
And I thought I had gotten over until my last year in college, and I'm sitting down with my advisor, and she's like, "Oh, well, what high school do you want to teach at?" And I was like, "Well, I don't want to teach high school. What are you talking about, lady?" She was like, "Well, what are you gonna do? You got an English degree. You can't do nothing with that." I was like, "Oh my God, I screwed myself."
I ain't thinking that far.
I
That's
screwed
funny.
myself. You can't do anything with an English degree. So
Mhm,
she was like, you can try to go to law school or something, but I don't really know what you thought you were gonna do. And
wow.
so I wound up in law school. So,
That
one of my best friends, he knew that he was gonna be an attorney since he was 6 years old. And when you talk to attorneys, you think that everyone is like that, when in reality, it's almost the opposite. To find
mm,
someone who knew that they were going to be an attorney when they were 8 and just fought their way all through all that, it's really kind of the fairy tale case.
wow.
Most of us end up being a lawyer just because, we have degrees like English or history, maybe political science that you really can't
Mhm.
do anything with. Either
Mhm.
you're going to
Mhm.
teach at some high school or some university, or you're going to go to law school. So it was kind of the path of least resistance.
That is
And
shocking to me that somebody was like, "Well, I needed something to do, so I picked law school." That's like damn near medical school in my mind. That's not no regular degree. How long was
well,
it? How long was law school?
law school's 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
3 years, and, I went to the same law school that I was at, that I went to, for my university, the University of Georgia, because 'cause
Mhm.
I'm from, Atlanta, so it's basically right up the street in Athens. Amazing school, I love that school.
Nice.
And, I really can't say enough about the Georgia Dogs, so I was happy to kinda stay there, and they gave me a full scholarship, so I didn't have to pay. I was thinking about I had got accepted to Cornell, which was I think number 10 in the nation at the time.
Mhm.
But, I'm from Atlanta, lower class. I ain't have that type of money that they were asking for. And
Mhm.
so when Georgia gave me a free ride, I was ecstatic. So
Nice.
um got into law school, graduated, started working in Atlanta, and then I'll be honest, when you're learning, when you everything is new and it's exciting, and you're like, okay, I'm learning so much stuff. This is so interesting. But as the years wore on, I realized that this is not for me. I started getting
Mhm.
wiser. When you're an attorney, what you're really doing, in a large sense, is trading money for problems, right? And they're not even your problems.
Mhm.
They're other people's problems. So other people give you money, and then you take on their problems. You become
Mhm.
responsible for their problems.
Man,
So,
imagine if therapists got paid to do the same thing. Oh my. They
well,
turn
as a therapist, you guys are taking on other people's problems for pay as well, right?
it don't feel the same.
I don't
It ain't feel
know.
in terms of
Listen,
unless you Dr. Jordan Peterson, the trade-off ain't the same as far as the pay.
I
And then what
don't
made you get into
know.
content creation now?
Well, I got into content creation because I was just burned out
Mm,
from practicing law. There was a time in my career when I thought I was going to quit being a lawyer and I was going to move to Vegas and play poker. Had gotten really big into poker,
mm,
and I had a wife at the time, and so I was, she wasn't working, so I was like, ah, do I really want to take this huge step, close my law practice, and move to Las Vegas and become a poker player? If I wasn't married, I probably would have done that myself. I just would have done it.
yeah,
But if you have I have a wife at the time, and so I was like, well, let me be a little bit more responsible. So I stayed practicing law, but in the end, I just had to realize that the money wasn't worth it. I
right,
started
right,
being cognizant that I'm not going to live forever, and I'm running out of time, and so I need to do something different. I just was
mm,
not enjoying the practice of law anymore.
mhm,
Everybody was getting on my nerves. The judges were getting on my nerves. Opposing counsel was getting on my nerves. My clients were getting on my nerves, to be honest.
mm,
And I knew at that point it was time for me to get out. But I didn't know what I was going to do. So I started a YouTube channel, and I saw during my practice that particularly men were making just some very silly mistakes that were kind of ruining the direction of their lives. But these mistakes were not complicated. They were very easy. It was like law 101 to me. And
mhm,
so I thought I was going to start a channel, talk about these mistakes that these men were making, particularly in the area of family law, divorce, child custody, things like that. And then I was just going to figure out kind of what I was going to do from there. I didn't know that you could make money on YouTube. I know that sounds
mhm,
naive. I had with O'Shea Duke Jackson reached out to me,
mhm.
and he actually gave me my first collaboration in the sector. There
Wow.
was a woman who gave me another let's say a collab before him.
Mhm.
She's amazing. But I remember emailing O'Shea when I got my first paycheck, and it might have been like, I don't know, $200 or something.
$200
I
during
was
the
shocked. I
holiday
was like,
season.
"Oh my goodness, you could pay a bill, with this. Like you can pay a
Mhm,
cell phone bill." I was really naive, and I was a little older. And these kids know, with Kai Cenat and
oh,
I Show Speed, they see the money.
Yeah.
But as an
Yeah.
older guy who was a lawyer and went and tapped in, I really didn't know you could make money on this. And
Hmm.
then after I got monetized, I enjoyed making the videos, but they took so much of my time because I was still practicing at the time,
Oh,
and trying to
people,
run a YouTube channel and working at the same time is insane.
they have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was spending like 20 to 30 hours per video, and
Mm,
then I wasn't even monetized. So imagine spending 30 hours shooting a video. I was doing all of the editing myself. I was teaching myself
ooh.
all this stuff.
Yep.
And then I wasn't even I was doing things the wrong way. But at any rate, somehow I got a little traction and my channel started to grow.
Mm,
And I realized that there was a space for people, for let's say divorce attorneys, to kind of tell men, really everyone, but particularly men, kind of what they've seen. You know,
mhm,
there are a lot of people on YouTube doing reaction channels to this or that, but there are not a lot of divorce attorneys.
mhm.
I don't think anyone can name 5 divorce attorneys on YouTube. And think
Yeah.
of how many millions and millions of people there are on YouTube. So it was kind
Mhm.
of like kind of like a blue ocean type of thing.
Makes
And
sense.
so I kind of started blowing up a little bit. And my
That makes
channel's
sense.
changed a lot over the years. And right now, I've kind of I'm kind of laying off the live streaming stuff because I
Mhm,
got a cancer diagnosis a couple of years ago, and so doing these 6, 7, 8 hour live streams has become a little bit more difficult. So
mhm.
now I've become one of those reaction channels that I was just talking about,
Yep.
but I've started like 5 other channels. I just need to make content on them, and they're all going to be focused on really men and the problems that they're having with family law, with relationships. You know,
Mhm,
just
mhm.
telling these men things that I've seen over the past 2 decades, and you see it all after
I
a
hope you do
while.
interviews on that too, because I think so many men that came out of the marriage and relationship issues,
Hmm.
almost being able to have a channel where they can hear those perspectives, I think would be pretty dope, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It really is a unique voice, and I'm not just saying it because I'm one of the voices, but yeah, you can name tons and tons of YouTubers, even huge YouTubers that do reaction stuff, but you really can't name a lot of divorce attorneys on here.
Facts. Facts.
So
Facts.
I really do think that I have a little bit of value to impart, and so it's been working. These past 4, 5, 6 years, a lot of people have kind of been interested in things that I've seen in these trenches, and
Nice.
it's incredible some of the things that you see, men's lives getting just absolutely destroyed when
Facts.
we all see it, with celebrities and all the stuff that they go
Mhm.
through. But it's interesting to see it with non-celebrities too, and just a lot of men just it's a lot of suffering.
So real quick before I even get to my follow-up question, I want to make sure I eyeball these super chats to see if I missed anybody. Teddy P, thank you, good sir, for the $2 lead. Don't give him the bottom of the bottle. Uh,
Okay, Teddy P or Teddy B?
Teddy
Teddy
P.
P, he's old school. He's an OG. He knows about that bottom of the bottle.
Shondarian. I'm gonna just say Sean. Thank you for the $10, good sir. Yo, you on with the legendary lead attorney LFG. Appreciate you, good brother. Who else we
Salute.
got? Mariana, appreciate you for the 9.99. Like and subscribe to this
Hold up now.
channel.
Wait. That's mi reina, mi vida, mi amor. All right. You got like,
Oh, all
this
the
is
R's. Oh, okay.
oh yeah, a little
I ain't know you bringing
okay.
the Spanish out. So appreciate you for the 9.99. Liked and subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, she's
Gracias.
amazing.
TLA for showing your thoughts tonight, Mr. Saint James. Thank you for the support. My guy Boogie Reacts. Thank you, brother, for the $5. The lead attorney here. Shout out to the lead and the brother Jeff. So listen, y'all,
Salute.
like I said before, if you want me to make sure that I eyeball and do not miss, because there's already a lot of comments starting to filter, I am focusing exclusively on the super chat so I don't get lost in the conversation or miss my mark when it comes to any particular questions that I'm going to ask. So if you're currently watching, make sure you're a subscriber. Please make sure you like it. And then all we ask is that you send it to 2, 3, 4, even 5 people. So domestic violence, that was something that I recently did a discussion on with the guys at the men's table when it came to
Mm.
like female aggression and a lot of misconceptions when it comes to that. What are your thoughts about just the general prevalence of the intimate partner and domestic violence and how it's often maybe framed versus often what's actually happening in regards to men and women and often how it unfolds?
Yeah, domestic violence really is it's a serious issue, and it's an issue that we really don't hear enough about. It seems
Mhm.
like we hear a ton about domestic violence, but I think it really only seems that way because it's so imbalanced. You know, we
Mm,
hear all about male aggression and we don't hear about the female aggression. Now,
facts.
I can tell you that we don't hear we really don't see the amount of domestic violence that is occurring. We just don't.
Mhm.
Um, on both sides,
Yep.
it's a ton, and I don't really know if there's a huge solution to it. But I will say that the aggression that comes from men towards women is much more studied and exposed than the aggression that's from women to men.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, you know, when you talk about domestic violence in terms of a female centric point of view, they will expand the definition. So now it's
Mhm.
just not beating. Now it's just not hitting. It's, oh, you know, you didn't give her your credit card. So that's financial abuse. Or, you know,
Mhm.
you didn't give her the car keys and, you know, you moved her to another state. So now it's isolated. Or you raised your voice, so that's
Mhm.
emotional abuse. Or, you
Mhm.
know, you didn't go to the store when she wanted to do the store, so now it's mental abuse. You know, the definition keeps expanding,
Uh,
and you never hear any of that on when the man is the victim. You really
fact.
don't hear about the false allegations. That's domestic abuse. You don't hear about the stalking, the destruction of property.
Mhm.
I've seen all of that in my time practicing divorce law. You don't see the weaponizing of the police and police calls. That is domestic violence, I would say. You don't really
Mhm.
see the use of the family court systems against men as punishment. That is domestic violence. So,
Wow.
you know, there are so many ways that
Mm.
men are victimized, but there are so many reasons why men keep it a secret. So
Mhm.
even though we do not see the true amount of domestic violence that goes from men towards women, we exponentially don't see the amount that is from women towards men. And a lot of
Mm.
times it is much more grave. I was on Twitter today
Mhm.
and I saw it was amazing to me. And you know, thank goodness for Twitter, thank goodness for social media because you would start to see this stuff.
Yeah.
There was a woman who I guess a day or two ago, she called her boyfriend and got the boyfriend got in the car and they were riding around. And so the boyfriend, the woman pulled over and said, "Hey, let me give you a massage." And so the boyfriend reclined his seat in the car and kind of, you know, rolled face down.
Mhm.
And she was massaging his neck or back or something. And he started to criticize a little bit, you know, this massage ain't really doing it for me.
Mhm.
She pulled out a gun from under the seat and shot that man in the back of the head. Then she drove to his parents' house
Mhm.
and was trying to use his keys to get into his parents' house. When she was fumbling with the keys, his
Mhm.
dad opened the door. She shot the dad 17 times. The mom hears all the commotion,
Mhm.
comes downstairs. She shot the mom 3 times in the chest and the stomach.
Mm.
Now, you would never hear about this stuff. Certainly, on a national level, it's not the type of thing that you know. I'm not sure what state that was in, but you know, you
Mhm.
wouldn't hear that. You might hear it in the city that it occurred in, but you wouldn't hear it nationally, right?
Yeah.
Especially with
Yeah.
you know politics being such a huge issue. That's really all you're going to hear about.
Wow.
So these types of things. I mean, it's hard to imagine. a bigger case of domestic violence than that,
Wow.
right? But you will
Wow.
never hear it. All
Mm,
you will hear about is these political pundits saying that, men need to be punished more, and toxic masculinity, and we need to raise these boys in a feminized manner so they're not
mhm.
aggressive, and they treat women like queens and put them on a pedestal.
Pedestal.
You're not gonna hear the real.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
that is one of the things that I wish men knew more, that number one, there are many types of domestic violence that you can become a victim of, and they
Mhm,
all should be taken seriously. And
mhm.
then number two, that your life is worth it. You don't have to accept it. A lot of times men think, oh, well, she just slapped me, or she just spit in my face, or she just talked bad about my mama. But who cares, right? And what
Mhm.
you're really doing is just you're minimizing your value, you're minimizing your self-worth. If
Wow.
you thought that you were somebody special, if you thought that you were somebody important, if you thought, for example, that you were Jay-Z, and you found out that some girlfriend is slapping Jay-Z, you'd be like, why is Jay-Z putting up with that? Why is
Mhm.
Jay-Z allowing, somebody to spit in his face? And then what happened to him when he was in the
In
elevator or
the
something?
elevator.
Yeah, you'd be
Mhm.
like, if
Yeah.
you're Jay-Z, why are you putting up with that? But when it's you, you're like, oh, I just, work down at the plant. She could slap me all she wants. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be that way. So many times the problems that men face are rooted in the fact that men do not truly value themselves. They will see
Yeah.
the value in a Drake, they will see the value in a LeBron, but
Mhm.
they don't see the value when it comes to them. But even though, LeBron might have hundreds of millions of dollars, that doesn't mean that your life isn't valuable. That doesn't mean that you have to put up with BS.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you think men could better prepare themselves or even respond to it in terms of like seeing the red flags or just what to be on the lookout for early on in terms of this type of stuff?
Yeah, it depends on what the red flag is. And I'm
Mhm.
just going to be honest, because I've seen them all. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, if she hits you one time, then leave her forever." Even if it's your wife of 10 years. And I don't. I take a much more realistic approach.
Mhm.
There are some general red flags you can consider, like jealousy, for example. If a woman is constantly accusing you of things, certainly if she's
Mhm.
hitting you, slapping you, spitting in your face, threatening to get these people in your life, calling the police. One red flag that I really hold no exceptions for.
Mhm.
If you see this, you need to get out immediately. Is if a woman will call the police on you with a false allegation.
Hold on, we're gonna stay
Um,
right there.
mhm,
I've been saying it all along that when this goes from just a normal dispute between us, which it could be potentially bad enough, to where you're now putting my life in danger and my
exactly.
future in danger and the image of how everybody's going to view me. So when the cops
Yes.
show up and I get arrested, or if this goes on my record, society's not going to view it that you initiated this. They're going to view it as, something I did and it was culpable for. And I've said it to clients, like the moment you hear that, and I go ahead and finish. I really appreciate you putting that one out there.
No, I know this is supposed to be like an interview, but I
Mhm,
love the conversation,
mhm.
so we don't necessarily have to be done in an hour because I talk a lot. So we,
Oh,
we
okay.
got time. We got time. But
Mm,
yeah, I always have said, because I've just seen it so much in my practice, that when a woman calls the police on a man for false accusations, even if that man has been married for 10 years, even if that man has 2 or 3 kids with this lady, he
mhm.
needs to see this woman as an open enemy.
Facts.
Not just, oh, well, that's my baby mama. Not just, oh, well, she's the mother of
She
my
was just
kids, or she's
upset.
my wife.
Mhm.
You are an enemy to me.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, I don't really think I have any enemies. I've got people online that don't like me, but
Mhm.
if I had a woman who was calling the police trying to get me arrested, I would absolutely have my first enemy.
Wow.
And I would
Mm.
treat her like that indefinitely. And there's no coming back from that. There's no apology. Oh, I give you a blowjob. Ain't nothing coming back from the fact that you called these police on me. Now I need to
Mhm,
stay on the other side. You
mhm.
know, if she called the police on you because you were hitting on her, you know, I mean, there's limits, all right. You know,
Mhm.
if there was a reason, a real reason for her to call the police on you, you got to take that. You
Yeah,
got to take that L. I'm talking about false allegations.
yeah, yeah,
That is a red flag that signals extreme danger.
yeah.
But you
That's
know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, even you kind of mentioned it earlier about a lot of the various forms of abuse that they try to weaponize.
Hmm.
Um, you try to use my kids against me. I've heard
Mm,
cases where guys told me in counseling sessions that if they left or if they tried to initiate a divorce, she was going to claim that he tried to touch the kids.
mm,
That I've actually heard that before, and there were guys that stayed until their kids got older off of something like that. So it's scary to hear the situations that men can find themselves in. And I appreciate how you opened up with acknowledging that female abuse isn't always even physical, and it's more normalized in men, like you said, the combo of us not respecting ourselves, but also I think
yes,
the
yes,
societal fear of judgment and what's everybody going to say, or even just worried about what's the consequence of how she's going to retaliate. That kind of traps men mentally to being stuck into accepting these insane scenarios to me. So I'm like, the moment I see stuff during the dating, courting phase and very early, I'm probably one of those guys that's very quick to be like, I agree with you. If you've invested a lot of years, if you have kids together, you're probably going to have more room for figuring out what that looks like. But if you're not at that point, it is so much
yes.
better to just leave when you see and hear those warning signs. So related to that, me too. High profile men. Who is it? Jonathan Majors, Bill Cosby, Johnny Depp,
Mhm.
Shannon Sharp, with the rumors of the settlement. I think it's rumors about 20 million,
It's
if not
crazy.
more. Insanity to me. Thoughts on what men are foolishly doing to even get themselves in these type of situations to begin with.
Yeah, when you talk about a Jonathan Majors or Bill Cosby, Shannon Sharp, it's hard to lump like the import of your question is right on, but
Mhm.
if we're honest,
They're
all
all
of these
different.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
different, right? They're all
Mhm.
different. So that's kind of
Let's stick with Jonathan Majors first because
mhm,
his situation was one that had video to a degree,
mhm,
and it was a lot more that we were able to see versus some of the others, whereas like they said it happened 20 years ago, or it's just he said, she said. Like we actually had a little bit of video evidence to show something. Like, what are
right.
your thoughts about like how that went down and A, how the public reacted to it, and then why it is that so many high profile men keep having this happen?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really know so much of the details about the Jonathan Majors. I remember
Hmm.
apparently from my understanding was he was in a car with
Yep.
his then girlfriend and she had, well, this is another thing, apparently she had seen something on that phone
Hmm.
and she tried to grab the phone and then or maybe she grabbed it and he tried to grab it back and
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
know whether there was a little bit of tussling in the car and then he
Hmm.
bent her thumb back or something like that. But
Yep.
what I do remember is him running down the street in them church shoes in the middle of the night trying to get away from the
Okay.
situation.
Gone.
That I
Mhm,
love that. That's
mhm.
out of all the men that we mentioned, I think that Jonathan Majors probably handled it the best in that aspect.
Yeah.
Get away, get
Mhm.
absolutely away. Now he was came out, he was making some crazy statements, telling that white woman, "Oh, you supposed to be my Coretta Scott King" and all this and all that.
Oh my god, I was like, "My guy." I was like,
Yeah.
it was one of the strangest cases, and I'm still root for him because, like you said, he was running. He was, even down to when he came back to his place, she was waiting in his side of his place or apartment or whatever. So,
Mm,
it was one, and that was after she visited a bar or whatever, and it was unfortunate that of how Marvel and Hollywood treated him because it was like if a guy runs away, and he's still seen as and even down to where I think he tried to countersue or something, and the prosecutor wouldn't pick it up.
mhm,
So it was one of these things, like exactly what you said about how I think there's too many people, not only in society, but also in the legal field. They just don't see men as victims.
Correct.
They just don't, and
Correct.
prosecutors included, like prosecutors, therapists, psychologists. There are people that literally do not see the humanity and the ability for men to be victims in this scenario. And it's like, you're right. These different instances that I gave, each one's different. Bill Cosby's his own anomaly. We're gonna leave it at that. But Shannon Sharp with the OnlyFans situation, this is like, I'm wondering, like, what the heck can guys actually do to, because outside of staying away from women, which is unrealistic for some men, like,
Yeah.
what the hell can we do when it comes to Me Too? I'm like, I don't know, because that's the wild card where it's like, the issue with Me Too is obviously like you want to believe all actual victims, but this weaponized element of at any point in time a woman can accuse you of anything. And I'm like, what the heck? This is tough. This is this is tougher territory where it's like it became so normalized from 2015 till now, where
Mhm.
it's like pre 2015, I went to college, I did the party phase. We weren't worried about this.
Right.
This wasn't a thing in high school and college for the most part. It's not that it couldn't have happened, but it was so rare in terms of it being put out there, and scandal after scandal. A lot of these guys are getting exonerated, and then they're picking up the pieces of their lives when they've lost careers, family, marriages, a whole host of things. I'm like, from your vantage point, like, what do you think about, like, why this is even happening?
Yeah, I mean, there are some common factors in these things. If you look at Bill Cosby's situation, for example,
Mhm.
one of the issues we talked about the whole Jonathan Majors and Coretta Scott King.
Yeah, yeah.
What he was saying was, you are not acting like a woman that I need in my life. But
Mhm.
he recognized that, and yet he was still with her,
So with
right? These are not long-standing, long-term relationships. These are,
facts.
relationships that are maybe newer, and the man knows, hey, this is not my person.
Or it's
But
a one night stand type situation. Yeah.
that's even worse. Yeah.
Mhm.
These casual relationships, you want to label them as kind of red flags. A red flag or something for men should really be aware of is that these casual relationships can really turn for the worse. If you
Mhm.
look at Bill Cosby's relationship, for example, that was a relationship that he had with, all of these women. Those relationships were super casual. In fact, he was married. He was married. So anything that he was doing with these other women,
Mhm.
apparently at least hundreds of them, and maybe all of them were consensual because
Mhm.
he hasn't been, I don't think, convicted of anything. So let's say that. But
Mhm.
even if they were all consensual, they were still casual. And
Yeah.
men who have a lot to lose need to be very, very cautious about casual relationships.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we see that also with the Shannon Sharp situation.
Yeah.
He was with that girl for 2 years, but she was on OnlyFans, so she was doing her thing. And
Mhm.
then it came out that their 2 year relationship was on and off.
Yep.
So if you have an on and off relationship for 2 years with the OnlyFans girl, that's a casual relationship.
Yeah.
Men need to be very, very worried if they see themselves in these casual relationships. They should know that they can turn. And then what we saw in the Johnny Depp situation
Huh. Huh.
is we saw a lot of alcohol abuse. We saw a lot of substance abuse. Johnny Depp, an amazing actor, but he was abusing a lot of substances,
Mhm.
and that opened himself up to behaviors on his part and her part that were not acceptable at all. For
Mhm.
example, I think I haven't thought about this in a long time, but I covered that trial extensively,
Mhm.
and I remember that it was somehow, I don't know whether I believe that Amber Heard threw something at him, and it shattered or whatever, but he
Mhm.
cut his finger on that, whatever that object was. He cut it to the bone,
Mhm.
and then he goes up to the wall and starts writing on the wall, with this bone on the wall, writing in his own blood. Well, shit, man, that already lets you know that y'all, both of y'all,
Bro. When I heard pooping on the sheets, I
yeah.
just knew at this pooping on the sheets just let me know everything I need to know. How about crazy, chaotic, and then the wild part is in situations like that, it doesn't matter how wealthy a guy is, how famous he is.
Facts.
It can happen to anyone, and I try to explain this to guys when it comes to the body count issue.
Mhm.
Fellas, I'm going to say this as clear as possible. When we were in high school, when we were in school, maybe even college, we may have been in that world of being surrounded and pushed to be like, did you sleep with her? How many women did you get with kind of thing? When you get older, you realize exactly what you're saying, which is the more women that you give access to in this way, the greater your odds are for being accused of something. And I think
Yeah.
it's going to take it takes almost guys that hit 30 plus to really start to realize what that means. It's like in our world, it's all about, oh, I make money now, I'm successful, I got a great career, I got all these options. And what I'm basically saying is the idea of endless women that you're having access to, that you said short-term flings, one night stand, you don't know them. You don't
Mhm.
know them truly. And I'm trying to tell fellas, like, the more women that you sleep with, the greater statistical chances that you're going to more than likely run into a situation like this. And God forbid you end up like Kavanaugh, where it's like now you're about to be a Supreme Court justice. Now you're getting drafted in the league. Now you're going viral, and now you have to think about all the women that you've ever done anything with, and praying that none of them decide to switch up on you because, oh, now he has access to money. Now it's an
Yes.
opportunity. I'm like, it's not the trade-off that you think it is. And I know a lot of guys, think that's the end goal for a lot of them. I'm telling them they better be careful. They better be careful.
100%.
Mm.
If you keep exposing yourself to risk, you're just upping the chances that you're gonna you're gonna get hit. You're gonna lose. You're gonna
Boom.
run into a Cardi B who's out here drugging men and doing all else. I mean,
Ain't been canceled yet and doing concerts on top of it. So it's
insanity.
man. Corey Holcomb. Because
Mhm.
my boy Corey Holcomb and
Wait, Corey Holcomb is your boy?
in a sense of like from a comedy perspective, for back in the day, I was a fan of his, and he had a
Okay.
little skirmish situation with Anton. Obviously, he's pivoted to doing more content creation now, and that's not really my lane. But when he used to do more on stage, I definitely used to be a huge fan of his. We had the big old brouhaha with him and Anton. What
Which
the
was
hell happened?
crazy. This is
Listen,
absolutely crazy.
what the hell happened between you and him and his legal representation? Because I was hearing conflicting reviews. He's saying all kind of stuff that you were lying and that you didn't reach out to him. Please, for my audience, can you actually break this down? What actually happened between you, Corey, and his legal representation?
Yeah, it was crazy. Just to provide a little context,
Mhm.
he had reached out to me a while back and
Mm.
invited me to his show. And so I went out to Pasadena and I did the 5150 show. And I thought, Corey treated me amazing.
Yeah.
In fact, after the show, him and Craig, maybe Darlene, I don't remember, but I definitely remember him and Craig, and it could have been
Mhm.
somebody else. They took me to dinner.
Wow. All right.
We had a nice dinner, and we talked all about Corey and Craig, and their backgrounds, and kind of what's going on in the industry. I'm here in Atlanta,
Mhm.
whereas they're out in California, and so it was interesting to hear about the industry from people who are in the industry. All
Mm.
of it was new to me.
Mhm.
So I thought the dinner was fascinating, and they just treated me amazing.
Mm.
And then, as you mentioned, the whole Corey Anton thing kicked off.
Mm.
Well, I reviewed that.
Mhm.
And I said some things that, were supportive of Anton and some things that were critical of Anton. And you didn't hear Anton say anything.
No.
I said some things that were supportive about Corey and critical about Corey. Well, if you criticize Corey, to be a comedian, he has the thinnest skin of a comedian I've ever seen. And
Man.
so I was, and really, I don't know what it was. I don't know
Mm,
um, if he heard clips or something, because
mhm,
he got mad at me when I did a video largely supporting him.
mhm.
Now, there was some points, I'm gonna call it fair, right? So there was
Yeah.
some points that I was critical, but I was largely supportive, and I thought that that woman was not approaching the situation in a righteous way. I thought she had lied in some of her interviews, and I called that stuff out. But anyway,
Mhm,
even though I was supportive of some points of the Corey, some points of Corey's perspective in that interview, he got mad.
mm,
And so, he started calling me out of my name and this and that. Well, right before then, I had reached out to his attorney because I
mhm.
saw that he had an attorney on his show. And I was like, hey, I would love for you to come on my show because I do think that Corey's getting a raw deal.
Yeah.
I have represented men and women, hundreds and hundreds of them over my 20-year experience,
Mhm,
20-year practice. And I kind of have a feeling when people are not telling the truth in these
mhm.
TPO hearings, these temporary protective order hearings.
Yep.
And based on my experience, I wanted that attorney to come on my show.
Mhm.
Well, the attorney was like, yeah, I'd love to come on, and let me just clear it with Corey, which is the exact thing that you're supposed to do.
Facts.
But now here's the thing that people might not understand. The relationship between an attorney and the client really is sacrosanct. Like
Mhm,
it is so important, and it is very regulated. And so when someone, if I need my client to give authorization for something,
mhm,
no one else can authorize it but my client. It's like, for example, if there's a woman and she wants to get some type of cosmetic surgery, some type of BBL, well, before she gets on that table, she's
mhm.
going to have to sign a lot of documents saying that she consents to the procedure.
Facts.
Is there anybody else who can consent for her? If it's a BBL, some cosmetic surgery, can her friend consent for her? Can her neighbor consent for her? Can her employer consent for her to have this procedure? No,
Mhm,
it is her and her alone. And the relationship between a doctor and a patient is a lot like the relationship between an attorney and a client. So when
mhm,
this attorney said, hey, Corey has to clear this, I totally understood. And I was like, man, this attorney, he's on it. Well, he gets back to me and said, hey, man, the interview's been cleared. I'm
mhm,
like, great.
mhm,
To me,
mhm.
that's like saying, hey, we're doing the BBL surgery. Well, if you
Yeah.
do the BBL surgery, who do you think consented to that?
Mhm.
Right? The
You the
patient.
client. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so I did a live stream saying, "Hey, man, Corey's attorney said that the interview had been cleared, that Corey gave his okay, and we were going to do it."
Mhm.
Well, Corey saw that, and Corey started calling me a liar, saying that he didn't clear anything. He didn't clear anything. And when I heard that, I was like, "Ooh." I was like, "Man, that attorney," because I
Fact.
recognized it immediately, right? And so
Mhm.
then Corey started calling me out of my name, and you know what? I didn't say anything about it. I let him, he started calling me, this and that, intimating that I was gay. Fine, I let him have it, but he
Mhm.
kept going, and he did this for multiple shows, and so there became a point where I was like, I'm gonna release the DMs, and I'm gonna show
Ooh,
that
'cause you
either
never really do that. So I was
I
that shocked me.
never
I was
do
like, but
that.
listen, they're calling you a liar. That you followed the right way. And I'm like, at the end of the day, do you truly believe he actually ran it by Corey and Corey changed his mind? Or do you think he answered for Corey? And then when he circled back, Corey was like, I didn't agree to this.
I don't know if Corey ever found out until I made my video. I don't think Corey knew. And that's why I said in the video that I said either you're a liar or your attorney. It's like one of y'all is messed up.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
here's the thing about attorneys, and attorneys are a lot like cops in the
Mhm.
sense that we don't like to tell on fellow attorneys. Cops don't like to tell on fellow cops. Doctors don't like to tell on fellow doctors.
Yeah.
very difficult to get a good malpractice claim because you need another doctor to criticize the first doctor, and doctors don't want to
Hmm.
do that.
Hmm.
Lord knows police officers don't want to call out other police officers, and attorneys are like that as well. But
Hmm.
I felt like I was pushed to do that
Hmm.
because Corey kept calling me a liar, and you can't do that to an attorney. I mean,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
reputations, we hold them in high regard. And so
Yeah.
when I made that video, I was surprised because I didn't really want to. I wanted to put the video out there, but I didn't even put it on my main channel. I put it on my back channel that had like 15,000 subs.
Hmm.
That video blew up. It got like 250,000 views in like a day.
I was
In
one of
fact, it
them.
was so hyped. I
Yep.
got a notification that it was the 13th most hyped video in the nation for that week. And that was on a back channel with 15,000 subs.
Corey, the
Go
Corey
ahead.
and
I'm sorry.
Anton thing was trending for like a month and a half. So I felt
Mm,
like, you just got thrown into it. And I was like, man, so I think what happened was you just like your name just got caught up in it. And when I was listening, I was like, what attorney agrees to something like this and then has his client claiming that it didn't happen when 9 times out of 10, TLA more than likely sent this as an email. You probably didn't just call them up and say, hey, you want to bring your client through. In my head, 90% of your communication is probably going to be via email. So I was like, he had to know at some point you were going to say, I reached out to your lawyer. So it's strange to me why Corey was doubling down on something so simple. I was like,
well,
I don't
that's the thing. I mean, I don't know what the hell Corey was thinking.
get. Hmm.
I really don't. I don't know if he know who I was. I don't know what the hell. Yeah, obviously, I guess he knew. He invited me to his platform, right? You're not just gonna invite a rando to your platform.
Hmm.
So I don't really know what he was thinking. And I let him talk bad about me. It's not
Hmm.
like he said the first thing and then I came out with a video. I let him get his stuff off. I was on to other things, but he just kept insisting. And he
Yeah.
really took my kindness as a weakness because I kind of peep game. And I was like, okay, your attorney's on some bullshit. But then
Hmm.
I felt bad because it's a fellow attorney. And
Fact.
I will tell you that when I did that video and it was released, there's a YouTuber named Dennis Sperling who is also an attorney,
Hmm.
very well-known attorney out there. I think he's in Texas over there. And he did a live stream. And he did a live stream reviewing my video, and I couldn't even finish watching it because I started watching it. I just started feeling so bad because
Mm.
he was explaining kind of both sides.
Okay.
And he was kind of backing me up in the sense that you can't have an attorney, you can't have Corey talk about me like this with my reputation, me being an attorney, and just think I'm gonna take it forever. But then
Hmm.
I felt bad too because he's like, Lee, this is a younger attorney, been practicing what, 13, 15 years or something like that. It could be the case that someone watches that and then calls them up. Somebody from law school, other attorneys see that, judges see that.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
was like, man, because again, attorneys are not supposed to call out other attorneys like that. So I started feeling real bad.
Mhm.
I even wrote Dennis. I was like, man, I can't even finish your damn live. It was an amazing live stream, the part that I saw, but I just started feeling guilty about it because I wasn't trying to attack the attorney because it was
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
attorney that was calling me all these damn names, these
Mhm,
slurs. It was Corey, but
mhm.
the attorney got caught up as collateral damage. But
Wow.
then I felt okay with it once the attorney started doxing me and all this and all that. I was like, okay, well, fine. I guess you earned it, right? You earned it. But I
Yeah,
really did
and
feel I was actually thinking about making a video
mhm.
before the attorney came on with his stuff. Like maybe even apologizing. I didn't really know. I really did feel like that attorney got caught up in Corey's bullshit. And
Yeah,
that,
because
you know,
I can imagine his emails are probably going crazy. Everybody's
yeah,
asking because both the situation with the woman as well as with Anton. I'm sure a hell is, a whole lot's like probably coming his way. And who
mhm.
knows between the two of them kind of how it transpired. But listen, man, I felt like you handled it well. And the big thing is you brought the receipts. If people gonna call you a liar at some level, you kind of had to defend yourself. So I don't blame you.
100%.
Just a few more questions, man, because I definitely don't want to hold you too long. So, guys,
Yeah,
if you're
no
currently still
problem.
watching, feel free to make sure that you like because I see that the amount of people that's currently watching versus the amount of likes ain't adding up. So please make sure that you like this. Please make sure that you send it to 234 or even 5 people. And again, guys, before we wrap things up, if there's any particular comments or questions or things you want me to address, or maybe even ask TLA before he goes, feel free to hit that super chat button. You mentioned before, that you were previously married. I was married before. I'm married now. The ongoing debate about the concept of marriage and what's at risk and divorce. Leslie Jones just came out saying marriage is slavery. Men are all talking about the free agent lifestyle. I know you're gonna be biased because you're a lawyer and you have your experience, but
Wow.
listen. We go as a man, that's been married before, and as a lawyer, but also somebody who's probably still both respected, and I think people still are open to hearing just your general objective opinions on like the pros and cons of this. What is your view on marriage in 2026? Is it worth it anymore?
It's absolutely worth it if it's done correctly. Absolutely worth it. It's kind of funny to me. You're like, oh, I know you're going to be biased. I was like, damn, Jeff. It reminds me when I when
What I
when I
mean
got
by that is, I know you're going to be biased in the sense of you will at least let us know the risk. There's definitely people who are
that sounds
biased.
like cleanup. I know you're going to
Hey,
be biased to let us know the risk. I mean, that's not really biased, though, is it?
well, you know what? You're fair because
Okay.
that's actually just being objective. If can share both sides to it. Then my
Yeah.
lane is when I've asked people this before. My view is that most people tend to pick a side. They tend to just pick
Mhm.
a side. They're either pro it completely or they're anti it completely. And you're right, bias was the wrong word. I think you're going to be fairly objective just based on both your personal and professional experience.
Yeah, they say whenever you ask an attorney any question, the answer is always going to be it depends. Right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're kind of in this situation, but I am 100% pro marriage, 100%.
Mm.
And I
And
am also 100% pro divorce. Right?
admins, clip that. Continue, good brother. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. I think marriage is amazing
Mhm.
if there is understanding about what is going on, if the marriage is structured correctly,
Yeah.
and if the person, if the man, let's say in this sense, chooses correctly, right? Um, I always say that you only need three things to ensure a successful, happy, long marriage. That's it's really all you only need three things. If you have these three qualities, it is a guarantee that
Mhm.
you will have a happy and successfully long marriage. The first is that you need to understand you, right? A lot
Mm.
of men just assume, oh, I want to get married or I don't want to get married. Let's say back in the day, in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, men just thought, yeah, I'm going to get married. They didn't really understand what marriage was. They didn't
Mhm.
know it was a contract. They might have knew it, but they didn't know it. They didn't sit down and talk to a divorce attorney, but they didn't really ask themselves, why do I want to get married? Is it because she got big areolas? Is that it? Like, why is it? Do I really want to just live with her for the rest of my life, or do I
Mhm.
want to enter in the institution of marriage? Men never really ask themselves, do I want to enter into this institution? They just say, well, I don't want her to leave. I don't want her to change. I don't want her to go anywhere. I'll get married to her. So they're not really being reflective on themselves. That's number one.
Mhm. Mhm.
Number two, if they're not doing it for themselves, they're obviously not doing it for the woman. And if you can't know, why this woman wants to get married, who this woman is, and who she will become, who she will be, how she will function
Mhm.
in that institution, how
Mhm.
can you, vet the woman properly?
Facts.
Right? So
Facts.
you have to know who you are as a man and why you want to get into this, and if it's even feasible for you. There are a lot of men who would want to get married, but they will never be able to successfully maintain a marriage, even though they want to get married. Their
Mhm.
personalities do not allow them to do that. Maybe they have low conscientiousness. Maybe they're super extroverted. Maybe they're not very intelligent. There are a lot of men who fit this category, and there's a building that we have for
Mhm.
these men, and it's called prison. And a lot of
Mhm.
these men who are in and out of prison, they will never be able to successfully have a marriage, not because they're just bad people necessarily. It's just that institution is not for them.
Mhm.
Sometimes people may feel bad that college isn't for their children, or maybe you realize that the military is not for you. It's certainly not for me. Maybe the NFL is not for me. Well,
Yeah.
shoot, maybe marriage is not for me. Even though I want to be an Atlanta Falcon, maybe that's not in the cards for me. I just can't snap my fingers. And the institution of marriage is such that if you're the way that your personality is set up, that can absolutely just not be in the cards for you. And then
Mhm.
so that's number one. Marriage
Mhm.
has to be for you, and you have to have a lot of self reflection regarding that. Number two, with the woman, the same thing. Whoever you pick, she has to be a marriageable woman. You ain't got to tell the red pill guys that there are a lot of women out here that are not marriage material. All right.
That's the first thing that's a lot. I'm sure the guys in the chat gonna be already saying this, especially those who are gonna watch this later on. That's the biggest issue is them saying,
Well,
"Yep, yeah,
you're
go ahead."
saying it's the biggest issue, but I view both. It can't be the woman's issue is bigger than the man's issue, right? A lot of
Oh
men
yeah,
are
my
not
audience
marriage
is primarily
material
men.
either,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm just trying to
Mhm.
call it fair, right?
Sure. Mhm.
But you're right. You're right. It's a huge issue for the women. It's a huge issue for the man. But assuming that marriage is for you, and you've done all the research about what you need to do to successfully administer a good marriage. And
Mhm.
then assuming that you vetted properly, and this woman is amazing as well, and she's marriage material as well, then you only need one other thing. And that one other thing that you need to guarantee a successful marriage is luck. That's all you need. If
I was just
you
gonna say a
have good
prenup.
luck,
I was just gonna say a prenup.
no, it's luck.
Okay,
If
okay.
you have good luck, then that will guarantee you, that will help to guarantee you a successful marriage. It doesn't matter if you are the perfect marriage material and your wife is the perfect marriage material. If you have bad luck, it will never work. It
Mm,
will, and I have seen marriages fall apart for the strangest reasons.
mm.
Um, and it's just sometimes it's just unlucky.
Wow.
And life is that way. If you play poker, you can know that, man, I was supposed to win that hand. I had a 80% chance of winning that hand, a 90% chance of winning that hand, a 95% chance of winning that hand. You lose that hand all the time.
Yeah.
And that's how marriages are. So you need good luck. I'll never lose a hand that I'm supposed to win at 80%. If I had good luck for each of one of those hands, I'll never lose it.
Mhm.
And that's how marriage is. So you need good luck over the long term. But if you have good luck, if you have uh, an ability to be self-reflective and an understanding of what marriage is, and an understanding of yourself and whether you can function in it, and then
Mhm.
if you have all those perspectives for the woman in order to vet her,
Mhm.
I absolutely believe that marriage is super positive. Now,
Mhm.
the marriage rates are not great, but that's because very few people do what I was talking about
Fair.
with this self-reflection. It's hard to find, a lot of wealth building tools that are as powerful as a great marriage.
Mhm.
Uh, Great marriages have a lot of wealth building incentives. Also, family building. It's hard to imagine a better tool for family building than a good marriage. But again,
Mhm. Mhm.
a good marriage can be an amazing family builder, and a bad marriage can be an amazing family destroyer. Right? The same thing with wealth.
Yeah.
I'm down here in Atlanta, and Atlanta, has a lot of fame for homosexuals. And we have a park down here, Piedmont Park, and it's a
Mhm.
it's a pretty affluent area in some ways. And there are a lot of homosexual men that are down there, and they're couples and they're married. We call them dinks. It's an acronym: double income, no kids.
Mhm.
And these men, you got one man making 175,000, another man making 150. They get married. They got a couple little dogs and they're killing the game, you
Mhm.
know, because they're making maybe 300,000 between themselves and no kids. And every year, the investments they're able
Great.
to do, especially as a married couple, they're murdering it,
Mhm.
right? An extreme wealth building tool marriage can be.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it's just about, knowing what marriage is, selecting your partner correctly, and then having a
Having
having a
luck.
little luck on your side. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and listen, a lot of guys in this space have definitely been talking about alternatives,
Mhm.
because they do want kids, they do want many of the aspects that comes with it, but they don't like all that comes with the legal process as it relates to the state and how much the state gets involved if it doesn't, if you don't end up having the luck. What are your thoughts about the lifestyle contracts that people are starting to talk about a little bit more? Because somebody, and thank you, Geek Surgeon, for asking this. People are starting to propose like contractual agreements in terms of just different things and dynamics of what they can expect from each other. Nothing that's going to the level of mentioning sex per se, but just to the degree where like there's an arrangement, it's a contract between us, but we're not married. Do you think that in 2026 for some people may actually, if they work with an attorney, may be a legitimate like option?
I would lean against it,
Hmm.
especially if they're trying to have a family.
Hmm.
You know, if you want kids, the state's going to be in it. Period.
Yeah.
Period. The state is going to be the one who determines how much time you're going to spend with your kids, how many overnights you're going to get. The state is going to determine how much of your check is taken out every 2 weeks to send to this mother.
Hmm.
Right? There's no lifestyle contract that's going to help you with that.
Definitely with the
Now,
kids for sure. Yeah.
there was this YouTuber. They had a show called The Roommates. I think they've stopped making content, but there was a guy on there named Hafiz. And Hafiz, they had a really strong following, and then Hafiz kind of went crazy. But he
Hmm.
was talking about, he had one of these lifestyle contracts with his, wife or whatever you want to call her. And
Hmm.
he was kind of intimating that, he had a provision in there where she had to suck him off twice a week.
That's not,
And
ain't no, you can't put that in no damn contract. Not
in a
only is
con
that
it's
illegal,
in the contract. Open your mouth. And it's like, dude, some of
bro, he must have made this off Chat GPT himself or something like that. There's just no way an attorney said that this was going to fly, and I'm like, God, I'm trying, and I 100% have thought about this for a while, and I have talked to some people who have engaged in some of this to a degree. It absolutely, from a contractual standpoint, will not hold up when it comes to children. But in terms of prior to kids, it seems to be like the men who are doing it, they're saying like it apparently works, where they say both parties can end it at any point and terminate the contract at any point in time. They can renew it. They have time frames on how long the contracts are, and even in terms of living arrangement, who's going to live where and for how long. It's a strange thing that I think probably we're not even we're having this conversation because of all the warning signs of what you were talking about of what's been happening to marriages. It's like if marriages were more secure, undoubtedly I think more people wouldn't even be talking about something like this. So it's like, listen, we got the celebrities and then the lady celebrities all talking about they want to be married but live in separate homes. So I'm
Mhm.
like, this is new territory in terms of what I think how relationships are actually functioning in the modern realm. Just very
Yeah.
interested. But now, and lastly, Ruslan KD, the big Christian content creator that you had met with previously. He would say when men were like getting divorced or whatever, he would say that a lot of men. I think the argument back then when he was saying was that he felt like a lot of men weren't fighting for their kids.
Mhm.
From your experience, especially when it comes to divorce and family court and whatnot, was that the case? Or was there more going on for men and fathers' perspectives for why it is that, oftentimes women are often given full custody or primary custody?
Yeah, both. You say, well, Ruslan said that a lot of men weren't fighting for their kids.
Yep.
Was that the case? The answer to that is yes. And
Okay.
then you say, well, was there more going on behind the scenes, maybe that Ruslan didn't understand? The answer to that is also yes.
Okay. Tell me
Right.
more.
And really that's what you see. And that's honestly why I came to YouTube, to kind of
Mhm.
expose what is really going on, because you might hear a statistic that says, oh, well, men don't try to fight for custody. And then you'll get that from Chat GPT, and then you'll say, oh, well, men are bad fathers, but you won't understand the why. And it
Mm.
takes somebody who is not in it for theory, who is in the trenches in reality. It takes a practitioner for you to explain to you what undergirds that statistic
Mhm.
and why it is happening. And so I think that's my value as a YouTuber. I can come on and say, guys, this is what's really going on. And a lot of men will say, oh, these women are terrible and marriage is terrible, and I want to give my 2 cents as, what I've seen. But then a lot
Mm.
of men may say, oh, well, I had a guy on my show who said he didn't want to moose locks for all the OGs, who
Mhm.
said that he didn't want to ask his woman for a prenup. And so then there's education to do on that side as well.
Mhm.
There's so much education. The problem is, Jeff, there's not a lot of practitioners in the space.
Facts.
It's amazing to me that you have a whole red pill community.
Mhm.
Everyone is saying that marriage is a contract, and yet there are no attorneys in the space. How does
Facts.
that even make sense?
Facts.
That's like having a whole industry about automobiles and which are the best, which are the fastest. You've got this whole industry about automobiles, and there's not one mechanic in the space. How does
Mhm.
that make sense? And
Mhm.
and
Man, I realized, and I'm gonna let you finish.
no,
I realize now, just with what you said, we need a whole episode on what does an attorney's view on what a prenup look like for a modern marriage today in 2026 look like that. That's a whole hour
yes,
by itself. Oh my God. I'm gonna
yes.
invite you back on, brother, because that
Okay.
I know my audience gonna tune in for that. Oh, but continue. My bad. Go ahead, continue.
No, no, you're right. It's crazy to me. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of things that Ruslan didn't understand. We kind of got heated a little bit because he wasn't humble in
Mhm.
his lack of understanding. If you're a mechanic, there's no way that I'm gonna, puff my chest out and act like I know as much as you. I don't even know what a damn carburetor is. I don't know anything about cars. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna sit back and learn. But a lot of our conflict came because he just felt like he had a statistic or this or that, but he had no understanding of what was behind the statistics. And
So yeah, so
mhm.
what so for then for the when it comes to, yeah, a lot of men aren't trying, what's the actual story that you've seen behind the scenes for why it looks obstically like men aren't trying and women are just winning this custody? Like what's actually going on from your lens?
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of changing now as we speak. Every 3 to 4 years, I can speak at least for Atlanta that we get a little bit more progressive and progressive. But it's kind of been for decades that, and it still is to a large extent, that the
Mhm.
family court system is tilted in favor of the women.
Yeah.
And certainly 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, and either further back, it was kind of an automatic thing that women were going to get custody of these kids.
Mhm.
Now, the woman is going to get custody in a large percentage of the time based on how the family was structured. If the family has been structured for the last 15 years, is I go to work and I work as much as possible. I do all of the overtime that I can. I'm picking up all the extra shifts that I can. I'm traveling when I can. You are going to be the mom, and you are going to take the kids to the recitals, and you're going to take the kids to the dentist office, and you're going to go to the PTA meetings. Well,
Mhm.
shit, when we go to divorce, what is a judge supposed to do, right? Because we've set up our whole family dynamic that way, and the judge feels like that it's the best to continue the family dynamic that way. That's
Mhm.
one reason that women so often get custody of the kids. But women get custody of the kids as well because a lot of judges just think that fathers aren't good fathers. And I saw this kind of play out with Tyrese. Tyrese was going through a divorce, and just some of the things that the judge was saying really showed that he had a bias against Tyrese as a man.
Yeah.
And that plays out over and over. So you will come in, Jeff, and you'll say, hey, I want to get divorced. I want custody of my kids. And I'll know the judge that we have, and I'll know your family dynamic, and I'll say, listen, we're probably not going to win custody of the kids, but if you want to fight, we can fight. And I'll fight my heart out to get these kids. But I'll tell you that this judge that you have isn't just one to give custody of the kids to men. Will he do it? Yes. But under certain circumstances. So let me ask you, is your wife in prison? No, she's not in prison. Okay. Is she abusing the kids physically in other ways?
Nope.
That we won't talk about because of the algorithm. No, she's not abusing the kids. Okay. Has she abandoned the kids? Has she run off to California with the new man and she hadn't seen the kids in 6 months? No, she ain't abandoned the kids. She in there. Okay. Does she use drugs? Well, she used a little weed. I'm not talking about weed. I'm talking real drugs. I'm talking yellow. I'm talking fentanyl. Does she use real hardcore drugs? No, she don't use no drugs. Well, what's our argument, right? What is our argument to wrest the custody from her to give to the man? A lot of the judges, they want to see really stark reasons. Now, they don't apply these reasons to the men. A man can make 6 figures and be a great father, and he still won't get custody. But for the mom, you need all these drastic situations. And
Yeah,
so
she
Jeff,
need to be losing Isaiah status, like Halle Berry, in order for that to even be on the table a lot of times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Jeff, you'll come to me and your wife's, a reasonable woman and you got 4 kids. You say, I want custody. I say, well, listen, if you want custody, I'll fight for you. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to lie to you. You're probably not going to get it. Now, we can do your divorce and I can get you as much visitation as possible and I'll charge you $7,500. Or, assuming that you're not going to fight, do $7,500, fine, flat fee. Or we can fight like hell to get these kids. It'll probably take 2 years, 2 to 3 years, and you're going to spend about $50,000 to $100,000.
And you still might not win.
And you still might not win, and you better not come looking for a damn refund, because I done spent 2 years of my life fighting for these damn kids. And when you lose and I get to keep the $100,000, guess what you got to do next month? You got to pay child support. Right? You got to pay child support. You got to pay up.
I am so happy. I'm so happy you broke that down, because a lot of times the narrative is just all these guys just don't care. And of course there are men that exist like that. And for me, I think it starts with a lot of men that weren't even involved and weren't really present in their kids' life to begin with. That's kind of already a thing. But a lot of times when it comes to like men that are going through a divorce or whatever, it's like, that makes sense to me. That's a human. This is like, oh, so you telling me that this is going to be a very expensive potential L. That
huge.
So I could spend 50 to 100K on another gamble after gambling on the marriage itself. And outside of all the things I already am going to lose, now I could spend more money and still wind up not with my kids. I'm like,
yeah. So most men, a good attorney, bad attorneys will do this. Bad attorneys say, Jeff, listen. I think we got a good shot at getting custody. Give me $100,000 and we're going to fight. And you're going to be like, great. And you're going to raid your 401k. You're going to put all this credit card debt and we're going to lose. And when we lose, you're going to look at me. And you know what I'm going to say? I'm like, well, Jeff, we gave it the good college try.
Oh,
have a good day. Right?
Is it bad?
And there are attorneys who do that.
Of course, right? Is it unethical for lawyers that do that?
I mean, unethical is a strong word. But just morally, it's kind of like you're really not telling your client the whole truth. The whole truth is he's probably not, in general, if he doesn't have one of these strange cases, he's probably not going to get custody. He's probably not. But bad attorneys won't say that because we got some gangster attorneys. When you think of gangster and you think of the Crips and the Bloods, this or that. No, there's some gangster in ties. All right, there's some gangsters with some damn pocket squares. There's some gangsters that are educated. And they will absolutely rob you for 50, 75, 100 grand. And they'll do it over and over to different people, right? Just because you're an attorney doesn't mean you straight up. You can definitely be about the street life. I've seen these damn attorneys. And so you will have attorneys who say, yeah, we're going to fight like hell. I think we can do it. You got a great chance. And then they done took you 75,000. Then you lose. Oh, well, we tried.
And she still got full custody. Oh my God, man.
Terrible.
So top 3 reasons from your experience for why it is that people end up getting divorced. The most common reasons, yeah.
Well, see, and here's the thing too, and we talk about people like there's a huge self-reporting problem when we talk about why people get divorced. I got a divorce. Nobody called me to ask me why I got divorced. Nowhere in the paperwork did I specify to the state why I got divorced. You might see a statistic. Oh, well, certain amount of people get divorced because of bad communication. Where the hell did that statistic come from? Who is telling these people their reasons?
Reporting data.
Yes.
Especially in my field, it's a lot more nuanced and way more complicated than I think people realize. And when they say, well, this is the top reason, I'm like, it's not. There's usually a lot more. And the reason why I know this is because we have therapy sessions. Because we're usually the people trying to fix and resolve it before they come to you. So we hear a lot more of the reasons. And the biggest narrative, the biggest thing I've learned, and then I want you to finish, is the version of what they tell people outside of the therapy session is not at all the version of what's actually happening in the therapy session. First of all, what's the percentage of women, and sorry, ladies, when I'm about to say this, what's the percentage of women that's telling social media, their friends, their family, a version about the relationship where it's their fault?
Exactly. Exactly.
Like this is the same group where it's in the therapy session. I can't get her to apologize in front of me.
Exactly.
So factor that in. Like I've heard the things that I've heard the ladies say and how they frame things, where it's like, well, I left him because he cheated. And then I'll ask her and be like, well, did you ever cheat? Well, yeah, just this one time, ma'am. But I was like, so they don't count their faults as strikes to why the marriage ended.
No, ever, ever, ever.
Oh my God! Like, bro, it's my bad. Go ahead, continue.
No, you're exactly right. I think on YouTube there are only 3 divorce attorneys, including me.
There's James Sexton.
There's James Sexton, and then there's another guy. Oh man, I'm sorry for forgetting his name. It's an older white brother, but that's it. It's just us 3.
Okay.
And I remember James Sexton telling a story about he represented this woman, and he asked her why she was getting a divorce, and she looked at him and she said, "Well, she filed a divorce because the husband stopped refilling her cereal box. She had a special cereal that she liked, and without asking, the husband would go to the store and buy the special cereal or whatever and refill the little container that she held the cereal in. But the husband got busy or this or that, and he had forgotten to refill the cereal container. And so she was like, oh, well, who knows what this means? And then and filed for divorce. John Noble. Thank you, Donald DeBarker. Yes, John Noble. Thank you. And so if a surveyor calls her or she has to fill out some form as to why she filed for divorce, is she going to put the cereal box? No, she's not going to put that. Right? She's not going to put it. So I think if you're just looking for, an easy answer, something that we see a lot, we do see communication a lot. And maybe the whole cereal box thing was a lack of communication.
Correct.
Right. So, you can kind of shoehorn a lot of reasons into a communication catch-all.
Mhm.
Also, the same way with infidelity. You know, there could be cheating, but there could be a lot of reasons behind it. Why did you file for a divorce against your husband? Well, he cheated on me. Okay, he
Mhm.
cheated on you. When was the last time y'all were intimate, you and him? Oh
Last century.
well, I stopped having sex with him, 6 years ago because it wasn't comfortable for me.
Oh, I I want to. I swear, I'm telling you this all my life. Last month, I had a client reach out to me,
Mhm.
and he told me it had been 11 years when he stopped counting.
Easy.
11 years of no sex whatsoever. And the whole idea is if he goes out and does anything, what's the version if he gets caught or it comes out? What is she going to say is the reason for why they got a divorce? Because he cheated.
100%.
Oh my God, man.
100%. So, you know, oh, infidelity, but why? Right? You never
Mhm.
ask. It's just like the statistic about men not fighting for the kids. No one asked the why. The
Mhm.
why is the whole answer.
Mhm.
And then what I also see is I guess money mindset incompatibility. Basically, you got two types of people. You got savers and you got spenders. And savers need to be with savers, and spenders need to be with spenders and
All by
bankruptcy.
themselves.
Yes, but you cannot
Jesus.
mix the two
Mhm.
and expect a calm, tranquil relationship. It will not happen.
Makes sense.
All I have been with savers and I have been with spenders, and I'm amazed when I'm with spenders. And there's a part of me that's like, oh my God, oh my God.
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
I'm going to be with a spender, she better be. And that's the thing too. You got this whole equally yoked thing, right?
Yep.
But as a man, I do like a woman who's making six figures. I like a
I
woman,
mean, listen, I'm used to it now, brother. I don't complain. Well, all these people be complaining about this stuff. It was
Mhm.
like the strangest thing is like y'all these men that operate in a realm where they can only interact with women that make good money who act like men. I'm like, you do know that there's women whose femininity doesn't turn on or off just because she got a job. I was like,
Right.
I was like, when I look in the Bible, when I've looked at women been working throughout the history of humanity. So this
Mhm.
concept that like she can't be a wife or can't be that's so bizarre to me. So I don't mind it. I like it, and we push
Yeah.
each other. And my goal is like to be able to replace her income and mine. But like it's one of them things that's like it's strange to me where it's like guys put themselves in these situations, and I'll be like, there's just too many women that's different for you guys to settle for the stuff. Like, first of all, what you
Facts.
said earlier, this nonsense about sexless marriages. But I've said it to my wife. I've said it a few times on the joking on here. 3 weeks. 3 weeks, madam. She watching right now. She in the chat as we speak. 3 weeks, ma'am. Unless there's some other situations going on. 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, we could figure out what the alternatives are, but it won't make sense to me at that point because it's like for me, the equivalent would be, well, let's say sex isn't her number one of what her expectation is coming from me. But
Mhm.
if being a provider is, and I decide next 3 weeks, I'm just not going to work, not going to bring in any money. How long is she going to be cool and comfortable with that before she realizes like this is unsustainable? I'm not
Right.
going to, whether it's a month, 2 months, 6 months, at some point, she's not going to wait 11 years of me not working. I'm going to tell you that.
Mm-mm. She will
So,
not.
yeah, man. So, these reasons you gave is like, what?
Yeah. It's insane. And we see a lot of double standards, kind of what you were alluding to, right? But
Mhm, mhm.
if we're honest, there's thousands of ways a relationship can dissolve,
Facts.
thousands. But you do see money problems is a big contributor,
Mhm.
communication problems is a big contributor, and then sex problems, whether those
And
are
the umbrella.
dead bedroom situations or
Mhm.
infidelity situations.
Or the umbrella term irreconcilable differences. That
Yeah,
that
that's
that,
the whole thing.
that's the
If you
big.
look on my decree, that's my divorce decree. That's what it says. My the
Mhm.
irreconcilable differences. Yeah, it
Uh,
could be 1,000 things.
Officer Tatum. You know, I had him on about 30 days ago.
Oh, you had Officer Tatum, man.
Listen,
You are
man.
blowing up,
Hey,
man. That is
I had
awesome. Big
Officer
somebody right ask our brother podcast in the damn chat. That's amazing. That is
listen,
amazing. Shout out to you.
Officer Tatum pulled up. We had a very interesting conversation. We covered a lot of territory, including his view on chitlins and you know, him being in an interracial relationship and how that cooking was going during the holidays. And but there was a clip I saw.
Is he married to a white
Yeah,
woman?
come
I
on
didn't
now.
know that.
Yeah, he is. And
I didn't
you
know. You're like, come on now. I've done one collab with that dude, but I don't really know his content
Oh,
like that. But
okay.
he's a
I had no, you know
huge.
what? It's so known because he gets attacked so much for it. I just assume everybody's knows by now. Yeah,
Mm,
but like you had covered his reaction to a video of a car situation where there was like raindrops on it,
yeah.
and in the title it said bootlicking. I'm trying to figure out like you said it earlier that cops tend to side with cops, lawyers tend to side with lawyers, doctors tend to side with lawyers. Why did you feel the brother was a bootlicking
Well, to be
situation?
honest, between
Yeah,
me and you, and since
yeah.
you are a professional YouTuber too, I will tell you that was some YouTube stuff to kind
Okay.
of get it going viral.
Okay.
And I said Officer Tatum is a bootlicker. That was the first sentence of the whole video because
Yeah.
Officer Tatum was going back and forth with another big YouTuber called Lackluster,
Okay.
and they were going back and forth hot and heavy. It was super aggressive, a lot of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And so that brother, I think he had a video that maybe went viral or something, and he called Officer Tatum a bootlicker. So
Mm,
what I did was I reacted to that, but I just took that and just put it
smart.
in the part of in the very beginning of my video. My video did really well, but you know, between you and me, that was some YouTube stuff.
That's hilarious. That was
Yeah.
not. It was catchy, and I said, this is an insanely like watched video." I was like,
Hmm.
tons and tons of videos. But why did you disagree with him?
Oh, I disagree with it. I disagree with him because of just what you said. You know, officers, and I'm not blaming him in the sense that officers are supposed to walk that or stay with that thin blue line in support of the officers because we attorneys do it too,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, families do it, you know, people, it's tribalism. Okay. So I'm never gonna
Mm,
blame I don't want to say never. But if a cop is siding with a cop, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, okay, that's par for the course.
yep.
But in my view, that particular incident, that officer absolutely used excessive force against that young black man. I don't think it's close.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Mm,
close. But you know, if you know, you've had some political people on your show that are, let's say, MAGA supporters, for example.
hmm.
Donald Trump might do some crazy stuff, but are the MAGA supporters going to call him out?
Rarely.
No. And
Almost.
even when they start, you know, Megyn Kelly is starting to say, "Hey, what is Trump doing?" And she can't, you know, the
The
people who
pushback.
support Donald Trump are like, "Oh, Megyn Kelly, you're a turncoat. You never supported us." And the people that didn't support Donald Trump are like, "See, Megyn Kelly, this is what you voted for. You dumb, you know." Like she can't. You're not going to win any favor by going against the grain in a lot of these
Hmm.
things when it's so politicized. And
Mm,
so,
mm.
even though I believe in my heart of hearts that it's clear, almost objectively,
Yeah.
that police officer used excessive force against that young man. If
Hmm.
Officer Tatum wants to back the police, I mean, I get it, right?
Yeah, it comes with the territory. It sounds like.
Right.
Final
Mhm.
question, man, that I've been wanting. Obviously, I was apparently thrown into the Manosphere. I
Mhm.
originally just came in just answering questions on random interviews, and then it was like, oh, he's the red pill therapist, and he's part of the Manosphere, and like you said, my entrance into this space, very quickly, I went viral, and within a week, I was on Pearl, Fresh and Fit.
Wow.
So that was like my introduction to this space, and I've always wondered because you've been on Pearl and a whole bunch of different, you know, platforms or whatever, like your actual thoughts about like the manosphere slash red pill. Like, what is your actual thoughts about it? Because you're actually, you know, you have a life outside of this stuff. but
Mhm.
at times you will engage in it to a degree. What's your actual opinion about like the actual space and how it operates? And,
Yeah,
and, and
that's
actually, my more specific question is it actually helping or hurting men learn and prepare for dealing with the dating market and like the legal system?
yeah. See, that's a deep question because when I started, I got pushed into the manosphere or the red pill community as well.
Hmm.
And as the red pill attorney, right? Even before I knew what the hell was going on. But
Hmm.
then I liked it because I started exposing a lot of things that because there weren't, I mean, James Sexton wasn't even around back then.
Yep.
I was the only me and God, John Noble. We were
Hmm.
the only ones saying, "Hey guys, I know y'all. There are other content creators in the red pill community who are given, game on lots of things, dating and relationships, and I'll let them have that. But y'all are
Hmm.
missing a huge part of knowledge and empowering yourselves and learning, and that's the legal side." And so I came in there and I was proud to be in the manosphere. I was proud to be in the red pill space.
Hmm.
But it turned out that there was a lot of money in the red pill space. And there
Hmm.
were a lot of hurt men going through the red pill process, which is a very painful and disruptive uh, um, process, let's say. And they have the saying that hurt people,
Hmm.
and a lot of times hurt people like to see people being hurt.
Hmm.
And there was a lot of money being thrown around by watching people be hurt, be humiliated, be kicked out of apartments like Fresh and Fit, be um have their reputations really, kind of destroyed.
Hmm.
And so what I like my position in the manosphere in terms of that I felt like I was creating a lot of value, but then I started seeing how other people were co-opting this space and giving these hurt people really what they
Hmm.
wanted, which was a lot of blood,
Yeah.
and they were making tons and tons of money off of it, which is fine for them. But
Hmm.
then the space I felt like got toxic. And so I
Hmm.
made a video a few years ago called Manosphere, and basically I'm leaving. I'm out.
Got you.
So I denounced it, or I didn't denounce it, but I withdrew my participation in it.
Hmm.
And other
Hmm.
people did as well. MTR came out with a video later saying that he was out of the Manosphere. Other big, they're just people who are, there are people in the Manosphere who will say anything, no matter how extreme. And
Hmm.
then there are people
Hmm.
who are more moderate. And
Yeah.
those two types of people cannot exist under one umbrella.
Generally speaking, yeah.
They can't because,
Yeah.
the MAGA people, you will never have a reasonable kind of middle of the road conservative call himself a MAGA. They can't
Mm.
fit under the MAGA umbrella. They just
Mhm.
can't because MAGA, the way that I view it, MAGA is kind of extreme right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I get you.
and if you're just a regular in the middle of the road conservative, you're not going to go that far. And
Yeah.
that's how I felt with the manosphere. I felt the manosphere because of all of the money and the statements that were being made in the entertainment value. We also have to say that, the
Mhm.
manosphere was never 100% education. It
Yeah.
was in huge part entertainment. And entertainment necessarily is kind of beyond the pale. Entertainment necessarily is pushing the envelope. What the hell
Mhm.
am I with a pocket square and a tie? How am I in under the same umbrella as people trying to push the envelope?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Right.
it's for me jumping into it, I'm navigating that now and trying to
Mhm.
figure out what that looks like. And I realize the manosphere is an umbrella term. Even the red pill, like what that
Red
means
pill
and
too,
actually looks like.
yes.
You're right. There's a spectrum of men that are, and again, you got red pill, black pill, white pill, and all this other stuff where it's like for me, it's like I'm totally comfortable with kind of staying in my lane because I know that there's different subsets within it, right?
Mhm.
Like there's literally men that are just men's rights activists, right? Like that's their lane, right? There's people who just do reaction videos. There's people who primarily just want to talk about intersexual dynamics between men and women. So for me, it's like And then there's the people who want to argue with women all day and go back and forth in debates on panels or on one-on-one calls or whatever. So for me, it's like recognizing like there's certain benefits to being in it, but working with different people, collaborating and recognizing which ones I don't need to do that anymore with. I've been kind of learning and realizing like, okay, there is a space for people who want to approach it in a way where they're not going too far left or too far right. But I agree with you. Like the same thing happens on the other side when it comes to the feminist circles where they have all these platforms and shows where they can say the most toxic things. Every woman behind a microphone isn't toxic and misandrous, and every guy behind a microphone isn't as well. So for me, I'm having to kind of learn that dance, like you're saying. The difference is me having the counseling therapy background. I understand the hurt.
Mhm.
I understand the pain. And this space from, late 90s to early 2000s gave a space for men to just be heard, for men to hear each other. Because it makes sense where I'm on the other side where guys were taking their life, guys were getting destroyed, men are just tapping out. And I'm realizing, like, okay, what you're doing, what other people are doing, there is a way to reach out to guys, whether you claim the manosphere or outside of it. There is a lane for men to bring information to people, and especially to men, that I think can be actually helpful. And for me, whether people listen, every week somebody tagging me saying that I'm Timu Kevin Samuels. So for me, it's like and the funny thing is like this is the difference where it's like I saw how he did it. I saw how he blew up. And people never, especially the people who hate me the most or think I'm just
Mhm.
grifting, they never thought about the fact that I almost never, out of the 900 videos that we have, I think once or twice I've talked to a woman in terms of her calling in. Like
Yeah.
the whole, like make a woman feel bad so we can go viral and shit on her and own her and everything. I just don't.
Mhm.
I know that my views will go up. I know that the trajectory. I would probably be at a few 100,000 subscribers right now if I went that lane. It's like have women come in. You're delusional. You're insane. You're fat. You're this or that. Like I could do that, but by choosing not to, I recognize there's this. And you're right. There's a segment of men that will always be frustrated and disappointed if I don't lean in on that. If I don't do that. For me, it's like that's one part of the manosphere. I'm just chosen and realize like that's not me. That's not me being myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't think you trying to participate in the manosphere or accepting that
Mm-hmm.
label, I don't think that's beneficial to your long-term success as a media
Mm-hmm.
influencer at all.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. And the people that you named, it
Mm-hmm.
just I think we'd probably have to have a deeper discussion about this online. I remember when I first came into the space and I was growing, and I thought, okay, I kind of gotta. Maybe I had your amount of subscribers,
Yeah.
and you get 50,000 subs, you kind of know what the deal is. Tons and tons more than a YouTuber with 2,000 subs. And
Facts.
then I hit five. I had 100,000 subs, and then I came on the radar of Kevin Samuels, and so he
Mm-hmm.
invited me to a collab down in at his place in Miami, and we did a collab there, and I was like, "Oh man, this is such a huge value for me." This is what I was thinking. Such a
Mm-hmm.
huge value for me to be on this man's platform. He has 1 million subs. Oh my God, I can't believe this opportunity. Did the collab, and it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me in terms the top 3 things that ever happened to me in terms of my YouTube career, but
Mm-hmm.
not because of the collab at all.
Okay. Why?
It was because of the 2-hour conversation that he had with me after the collab. And
Mm.
it showed me that
Uh-huh.
even though I had 100,000 subscribers, there were so many things that I had not understood about what YouTube really was. There were so many things.
Mm.
And he had a maturity because he had, no one is immature, but gets 100,000 subs, a million subs. Like kind of, you don't get a million subs by accident. And
Mm-hmm.
on top of the fact that this man was genius, it's not like he got a million subs just based off shorts, like
Right.
some people, right? His shit was for real.
Mm-hmm.
And he really he schooled me on some things that I had not understood. And
Mm-hmm.
you talk about Kevin's, you brought him up, like
Mm-hmm.
the Timu Kevin said. I thought that's funny, but it sounds like you're saying that you feel like there's some part of participating in the Manosphere that may be beneficial to you. But you bring
Yeah.
up Kevin Samuels. When did you ever hear Kevin Samuels say that he was in the Manosphere? When did you
Never.
ever hear Kevin Samuels claim the Manosphere, claim that label? You never
Never.
did.
Never.
You
Never.
never
And
did.
to be fair, part of the issue with the quote unquote manosphere is it's an amorphous term. It's not something that there's people in it that don't know that they're in it. And it's something where it's like people can say they're not in it and they're still seen in that way.
I just
And
disagree with. I
no,
disagree
I'm
that.
just saying I mean what I mean by that is
Mhm.
it's not it's not it's not like politics where you're either registered Republican or registered this or registered that, where it's something where when you talk about certain things,
Mhm.
and especially if you're a guy, by default, the people who gravitate to that space will just see you as that. Now, the individual can say that's not me, I'm not a part of it, but in the example, in terms of what you're saying with Kevin is Kevin didn't have to claim it. Kevin didn't identify with it. However, did he have an impact on it? Absolutely. And that's the difference. Where it's like the idea that Kevin did not have an impact on the manosphere, that he didn't change how a lot of people do their content now, how a lot of people approach conversations now, even down to talking points that people use. The entire manosphere, especially with the Black manosphere, completely shifted with a person who never identified with it. So that's what I mean when it's like you can be in and out of it, but if you have a big voice and it's influential, by default, people who gravitate to it will still see you in that way, even if that's not your actual title, if that makes sense.
Mm, it seems to me that I can influence a system
Mhm.
without being part of that system. Just
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
influence a system doesn't mean that I'm in that system at all. So I don't
fair.
necessarily
Yeah,
understand
it's
that.
more. Yeah, but what I'm saying is you're not in it, but people still see you as in it. If
Well,
that makes
I can say that I don't like Kamala Harris, and then somebody says, "Oh, you're MAGA." Well,
yes.
shit, fine. You know,
That's facts. That's exactly it for me. That's it.
right?
So
But I don't play into that. I don't
I get you.
claim it. I don't flirt with it. I don't, because I see what you're
Mm,
saying is like, hey, if I identify with this, I might get access to certain opportunities. I might get access to certain people.
mm,
What I would say is just be careful, because look at the people that you're getting access to. Really
yeah.
look at them. Look at the stuff that you're saying. I saw you caught a little heat a month or 2 or 3 ago when you had a you went to go see a certain person,
Oh yeah,
and I felt like that heat maybe was warranted, because look what this person is saying, going around saying, but I feel your pain, because
I hear you.
I also collaborated with this person, but they weren't saying the crazy shit that they're saying now. But
I
this
hear
is where the wisdom comes in as an
you.
old
Right.
school YouTuber.
You're right. You're
Like,
right. And it's like it's definitely opened up my eyes to the reality of the pros and cons of the space. And I agree with you. It's one of those where I do think there's still meaning and purpose and value in it, but there's definitely a lot of anger, hurt, bitter, jealousy. There's a whole lot in this side of the internet that you don't know it until you're in it, and
mhm.
like you said, once you start talking to more people and trying different things, your eyes get opened up. And for me, my eyes have definitely opened up to the reality that, like you said, everybody isn't in this because they actually want to help. It's not because they actually want lives to get better, men to get better, relationships to improve. A lot of people, it really is just a lot of the, playing on a lot of the other stuff that you mentioned. So, man, I appreciate that. And a lot of your feedback, especially how you closed out with your actual true thoughts, you, MTR, and a lot of other guys that was either in it or seen as in it, and how you've kind of navigated what that looks like going forward. Definitely gives me a lot to think about for myself. But with that said, I just want to say, how where can you let everybody that hasn't heard of you, where can they find you and support you?
Yeah, honestly, don't even look for me right now because I'm going through a whole YouTube change myself. You know, my
Okay.
old channel,
Uh-huh.
I've pivoted.
Mhm.
But I'm starting 4 to 5 new channels, and I don't even know the names of them right now. There's no content, so
Mm.
you'll hear about me. It'll probably take me a few months to get the channels up and running, but I've
Mhm.
got something for the men out there, and I think you know you and I, Jeff, we would definitely disagree about this whole manosphere thing, but I think what we definitely agree on is that there is an audience there.
Yeah.
There are men there who need help,
Yeah.
men who need guidance, men who need information.
Absolutely.
And maybe we just disagree on the best way to reach these men or
Mhm.
or what we're gonna call them. But I am starting these 4 to 5 new channels specifically for them.
Okay.
So
Fair, fair.
don't look for me now on the TLA thing because it's all
Okay.
body cams over there. But but I'm doing something special. I'm starting a number of new channels to specifically kind of flood the zone, as the Republicans like to say about
Ah,
this information. I really do think that I have a lot of information that not a lot of people are in a position to give.
mhm.
They haven't learned it through experience, and they don't know the nuances. And between me, James Sexton, and John Noble, it's that's just us. It's just us
Yeah,
three.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we got a lot of information to get out.
I
So I'm going to
appreciate
start
it.
that on those channels. Yeah.
Thank you. And then Miss Couture, she did write out, I didn't want to miss this. Lead, how do you feel about women giving full custody to the father? Vengeance or best idea since sliced bread?
Mm, it's so rare
Hmm.
that women give full custody to men that
Hmm.
it's almost by definition a great thing. Well,
Mm.
99% of the time it's a great thing, but there's 1% of the time where it's not. 99% of the time, if a woman is giving full custody to a man, there is a reason. And it is
Okay.
a really, really, really good reason.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so if you want to give full, if you feel like you are just such a horrible parent that you want to give full custody to dad, by
Hmm.
definition, that's almost always a great idea.
Yeah.
Now there is the 1% of the chance where maybe there is some threats, maybe there's some
Hmm.
coercion. If you don't give me this kid, I'm gonna kill you tonight type stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
But in general, that's so far afield from what we usually see. And
Yeah.
and I don't think that's optimal. I think optimally both parents should be in the child's life. I'm not
Mm.
one who thinks that all men should get 50-50. I would love, and
Agreed.
I really do think
Agreed.
the default should be,
50
I'm
50.
sorry, 50-50.
Yep.
Yes. It
50.
shouldn't be full custody.
Yep.
Full custody should rarely, rarely be the case for the man or the woman. I don't view it as a huge win that a man gets full custody because that means that your child that you love so much has a shitty mom.
Ooh.
How is that a win? Right? You you want both parents to be awesome, both
Yeah.
parents to contribute equally. That's what I would want. So,
Same, same. I've always thought about that, and talking with you and Dr. Tia San and Dr. Curry and many of the
oh,
other
shout
guys.
out to Dr. Tia San. He's
Man,
amazing. He's
the people
amazing.
who I've come across on this space so far, when I follow up with y'all and we come up with a little think tank, um, what it is I don't want to spend another 2 years only talking about the issues. I want to have like you said, like what's the actual actionable things that most men in this space can align on, can support
Right.
on an individual, local, and even national level, and we get political figures and different organizations to actually back it, actually fund it, and from start to finish, from a legal standpoint, academic standpoint, like really put systematize and get this in order. And I'm excited because a lot of the guys that I've brought on are the types of minds that I want to be a part of that process.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, I'm so excited, and just to say again, man, I really appreciate all the work that you've done. in this space, normalizing seeing people that look like you and think like you doing what you're doing, even as a lawyer. Like that actually was one of the reasons why I finally felt like I can do it as a therapist. Believe it or not.
Mm,
When I say there were not a lot of male therapists. There was like you had Dr. Jordan Peterson and others for a long time, and
right.
finally, and so for me, it was like I took a big leap with this career shift and change. And you were one of the main reasons for why I thought that it was honestly possible. So I appreciate you for doing this and coming through.
I appreciate that. I think a lot of people should try YouTube. Now, everybody's trying TikTok. TikTok ain't paying no more, guys. Try YouTube. It takes a lot of work,
It is. Yeah.
but it will change your life. It's absolutely changed my life in more ways than I can count.
Hmm.
So if anybody's listening, and I know trying YouTube sounds, oh, I could never do that. Okay, but
Hmm.
it's out here changing lives. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and I'm glad to be at least a small part of the inspiration while you're over here. And obviously, you're doing fantastic.
Appreciate you.
Thousands and thousands of people are seeing so much value in your content, and you're just going to continue to grow. And I love it. So
Appreciate
if
you,
you can
man.
avoid the big missteps that
Yeah,
um,
I'm gonna
that
work on
that
it.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
We're all gonna take some L's as content creators. I've taken my share, but the
Mhm.
biggest thing is just avoid the huge ones, where people get kicked off and demonetized, like a few of the people that you mentioned.
Yeah,
And
fair,
if you
fair.
can avoid those and just take the small L's, like I have and others, and just keep rolling along, you're just going to grow. It's just really just time now, because
Mhm.
you've got so much value inherently to offer, that all you need is time, and you'll be at 1 million subs. It's no problem. It's just a matter of time.
Honey, realize TLA just said that 1 million subscribers is on the way. So
100%, a
yeah, man.
hundred percent.
Listen, hey, I appreciate you, everybody. I was gonna say go ahead and support him and subscribe for now, but be on the lookout for when his additional channels comes out. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
I really appreciate
no
it.
problem. Thank you.
All right. All right, y'all. So that was, man, man. It is gotten to a point where I don't know how long this run is going to continue, but I have a list of over 150 people that I'm supposed to follow up with, as far as guests or prospective people that are open to coming on or have expressed interest in coming on. I don't have a scheduler, which is why it's so hard for me to get back in contact with people. So I'm going to spend the next few days kind of trying to schedule the next few weeks out, if not even a month out. But thank you for everybody, and thank you to the lead attorney. Thank you to everybody that came in this week. Dr. Curry, uh, um, Professor Pick Me, everybody that's collabed since I've started up until this point. It's been dope. It's been an honor. And that last conversation, that last part that he said about the manosphere and what it means, and its trajectory, and even outside of it, because obviously I do cover content completely unrelated to the manosphere. Um, the one thing I'm going to say to everybody that's in this space is, being a newer person, I'm not an authority figure. I'm not somebody you even got to care about. I don't have the accolades or the anything that everybody else is that's been in this space for a long time is maybe had. But I am going to say this: um, the men that are the angriest, the men that are the most hurt, and the men that feel that their only way to feel any type of coping and healing is to tear down women indefinitely, um, you're not actually helping. That's the best thing I could say. Um, the people who you think like us that are trying to build something, you don't even know the types of people that we can't even collab with or do work with, because of the vicious, vile, nasty things some of you dudes will say in the live chat. I've had people that came on the platform and I've had to remove them completely because some of the things that you guys have done to their personal businesses. So I'm not even talking about content creators is doing all kind of wild stuff or covering crazy stuff or saying the most insane things. I'm talking about the viewers that's in this space. I'm not one of these people that just labels the whole manosphere as toxic and every other dude is just is a misogynist and hates women. That's not my experience. That's overwhelmingly not my experience with the people who have texted me, emailed, DM'd me across the board. We had the little memes and jokes and comments here and there about what's wrong and how things can improve. But some of you dudes are so disgusting. If I was a woman, I would understand why most of them don't ever want to touch you or deal with you. There is an actual problem in this space. And maybe there's been too many dudes or people that's just so focused on the money and getting what they can from y'all that y'all can't realize a lot of this is disgusting. There are women that are extreme feminists who are so anti-men and anti-family and anti-children, and we can call that out. But every time we ever acknowledge that there's some vicious stuff happening on this end, y'all fall apart. Whether I claim Manosphere or not, whether I claim Red Pill or this or that, regardless of whether this changes your view of whether you want to support me or not, I'm just going to make it known. If you have that mindset where you have an inability to look at the full humanity of people, that you can acknowledge guys can get it right and can get it wrong, that women can get it right and can get it wrong. If you're not in that spectrum and you're not interested, it's pro men all the time and women ain't shit. All women are horrible. This channel and platform is not for you. You can unsubscribe. You can take your likes and your views and you can do whatever you want. Because my actual goal is to bring y'all talented people, thought-provoking people, and you know, bring my expertise, my field, be the different things I'm interested in, and just be entertaining, you know, educate people and have fun. And I got to tell you, man, the last 3-4 months, the things that the ladies have told me when I first went viral, before I was even built up the damn channel, the amount of things from the ladies from the Sharing My Truth podcast told me when I first went viral in July of 2024. The comments and the DMs and the remarks and things that y'all said, some of y'all, just know that if you had said that to my wife or my daughter, furniture was going to be moving. Some of y'all are actually disgusting. Y'all are not a good representation of the manosphere, which is why so many of the men in this space have left or disavowed it. Like I said, I'm not the king. I'm not the head of anything. You got people that's been in this space way longer than me. I'm going to do me, and I'm not going to try to be anybody else. And I realize I'm not going to lower and debase my value or this platform to appease y'all. So if when I bring people on my platform, y'all feel I need to disrespect them or cuss them out or say all this stuff, because y'all don't do this, you don't understand what the purpose of networking is. Building, collaborating. You just want to see people get owned and shitted on. That's why I'm here doing this, and that's why you're over there doing that. So stop tagging me. Stop telling me what it is I need to do. If you're not doing it, and if you're not willing to support, and if you think I need to go so much further in order to get my message out there, just support the content creators that's already doing it. The ones that have no standards, that can say anything. Talk about raping women. Talk about sleeping with children. Talk about disrespecting women to the highest degree. If that's what you want, there's platforms for that. That won't be this. That won't be here. So I hope this is the one time I have to say that. And my team, all my admins, I'm making it known. If you see these creatures on my platform, if you see them in the comments, go ahead and remove them and block them. I don't want their engagement. I don't want their support. You can critique me. You can challenge me. You can tell me different things that you think, you know, I can make things better. But if you feel like I got to call women bees and hoes and all this other stuff, I'm not for you. And this isn't for you. If that means I'm not Manosphere, so be it. If that means I'm not Red Pill enough, so be it. I'm doing this because I want to do it. not because I'm trying to bow down to the lowest common denominator of men that I wouldn't even respect if I knew them in person. So I hope that this is as clear and as succinct as possible. And if I am going to engage in this space still, I'm going to do it on my terms. I hope that clears things up. And I appreciate everybody that still wants to rock with me even now and after this. So listen, y'all. Despite that, I feel really good. I feel really happy. And like I said, y'all, next week, Rachel Dolezal, another interview, original content coming up next week. And I guess we'll see. I have a feeling that, what I just said probably is gonna get clipped up too. And I'm okay with it. So it is what it is. And honestly, I think I feel right. And thank you, whoever. Thank you, Chicago Black Delegation. You said some very important things in this closing monologue, Jeff. Big props, brother. Thanks, bro. Because me and you, we don't agree on politics, but at the end of the day, you don't disrespect me, and that's all I care about. I'm comfortable with nuance. I'm comfortable with differences in views of opinions. I don't agree with everything that every person that comes on my platform says or believes, but I'm just giving them a space to be able to say it. And I hope that, I just remain true to what it is that I think this platform is supposed to be for. So, thank you, everybody. Somebody just posted in the chat that we cleared 53,000 subscribers during this live. So, guys, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you're not a subscriber, please become one. If you're not a member, that's typically all I ask, $2.99 per month to become a member. And thank you to those who's been gifting people memberships. That's super dope. And I guess I'll see y'all bright and early next week. And thank you genuinely for the support. So listen, y'all, have a good evening. Please, please, please share this, hype it, send it to everybody that you know. And I'll see y'all on the other side bright and early next week. Take care. Peace.